When Shadur Sanders walked into the Cleveland Browns media room, the atmosphere changed instantly. The air went still, the reporters shifted in their seats, and the cameras began clicking like a nervous heartbeat. Everyone expected another confident rookie presser, filled with the usual rehearsed answers, quick grins, and humble sound bites. Instead, what they got was something that made NFL history. Shedeur sat down, adjusted the mic, stared straight ahead, and said nothing. Not a single word. His lips moved, his expression shifted, but no sound came out. At first, the media thought it was a technical issue, but after a few moments, everyone realized this wasn't a malfunction. This was deliberate. This was defiance. That silence hit harder than any touchdown celebration or post-game rant ever could. It was cold, sharp, and deliberate. And in a league built on control, where every statement, every emotion, every word is filtered through PR departments and corporate guidelines, Shedeur had just detonated a bomb. Within minutes, clips of the silent press conference were spreading across every social media platform. Within hours, it was being replayed on ESPN, debated on Fox Sports, and analyzed by talk show hosts across the country. The NFL had seen players kneel, speak out, even boycott interviews before, but never like this. Never so calm, never so intentional. To understand why this hit so hard, you need to understand who Shadur Sanders is. He isn't just another quarterback trying to make the roster. He's Dion Primetime Sanders' son, a young man raised in the spotlight, molded under pressure, and expected to carry not just his own reputation, but an entire family legacy. Every time he speaks, every gesture he makes, the world watches and judges. His confidence is called arrogance, his swagger mistaken for entitlement, and his silence, well, that became a revolution. Shedeur didn't stay quiet because he had nothing to say. He stayed quiet because he knew whatever he said would be twisted, turned, and used against him. The media wanted sound bites. He gave them silence. But the NFL doesn't like unpredictability. The league thrives on image control. From uniform rules to press obligations, everything is structured, managed, and rehearsed. And this act, this quiet rebellion, was chaos. Inside the Browns' headquarters, it set off alarms. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, already under pressure with quarterback controversies piling up, didn't see this coming. General manager Andrew Berry got calls from league officials before the press conference even ended. The commissioner's office demanded an explanation. Some insiders even hinted at a fine, an unheard-of punishment for a rookie who hadn't played a single regular season snap. The Browns' facility turned into a pressure cooker overnight. Joe Flacco, the seasoned veteran, didn't bother hiding his frustration. Dillon Gabriel, the rookie drafted ahead of Shedeur, kept his head down but couldn't ignore the whispers. Everyone had an opinion. Some players thought Shadur was being dramatic. Others admired him for having the courage to stand against a media machine that devours young stars for entertainment. And through it all, Shedeur moved with quiet precision. Headphones in, eyes forward, immune to the chaos. His calm wasn't arrogance. It was control. By the next morning, ESPN's headline was unavoidable. NFL commissioner furious over Shadur Sanders' silent protest. Every sports analyst had a take. Stephen A. Smith went on air calling it a rookie mistake. Pat McAfee, on the other hand, said it was wildly unorthodox but kind of brilliant. The sports world was split down the middle. Was Shedeur out of line, or was he exposing the hypocrisy of a system that pretends to support individuality until it's inconvenient? Fans took sides too. Cleveland supporters flooded Twitter, some praising him for refusing to be baited by a toxic media culture, others accusing him of embarrassing the franchise. Rival fans mocked him mercilessly. Memes of silent Sanders spread like wildfire, showing him with duct tape over his mouth or captions like, "When your QB speaks in Morse code." But beneath the humor was a real question. What if this silence wasn't childish rebellion? What if it was strategy? Inside the Browns' locker room, that strategy came with a price. Practice reps began to shift. Dillon Gabriel started getting more attention. Shedeur's time on the field shrank. To outsiders, it looked like punishment. But those who watched closely saw something else, a young quarterback doubling down. In drills, his passes were sharper. His focus laser-like. One insider said that during a 2-minute drill, Shedeur threw a 30-yard bullet so perfect it silenced even his critics. He wasn't going to talk his way back into favor, he was going to earn it on the field. Still, the storm kept brewing. Some veterans quietly warned him that the NFL doesn't forgive players who challenge its authority. Others whispered encouragement, telling him they wished they'd had the guts to do the same early in their careers. Kevin Stefanski tried to restore order, but the locker room had already split. There were now two camps: the traditionalists who believed in playing the game, and the rebels who believed Shedeur was making a stand for every player, tired of being treated like a headline. Behind the scenes, things got even uglier. League officials reportedly contacted the Browns to address the situation immediately. The NFL's image, they said, was at stake. The message was clear: control him or we will. That kind of pressure can break an organization, and Cleveland, of all teams, didn't need more drama. The franchise has lived in chaos for years, from the Johnny Manziel circus to the Baker Mayfield saga. Now, just when they seemed to be finding stability, another quarterback had thrown them back into the national spotlight. Shedeur's camp tried to spin it, calling the silence a misunderstanding, but no one believed that. Everyone knew this was intentional, a message to the NFL that he wasn't going to be another media puppet. That defiance might have cost him snaps, maybe even his spot on the depth chart, but it won him something far more valuable: attention. The entire football world was talking about him. Not the starting QB, not the coach, him. The rookie who said nothing and became the loudest voice in sports. For the Browns front office, this wasn't inspiration, it was instability. Sponsors began asking questions. The league kept calling. Some insiders claimed the front office held emergency meetings to decide whether to discipline Shadur. But how do you punish silence? How do you fine someone for not playing a game they never agreed to? That's what made the whole situation surreal. The NFL was desperate to control a narrative that had no words. On the practice field, Shedeur continued to do what he does best: perform. While the headlines painted him as a rebel, his teammates saw a worker. He studied film late. He led second-string drills with intensity. He wasn't sulking. He was sharpening. Some said he wanted to prove that no matter how much they tried to sideline him, he'd make his statement through the only language that truly mattered in the NFL: winning. But the deeper meaning behind that silence went beyond football. It touched something raw in fans who've seen athletes destroyed by media manipulation. They saw in Shedeur's defiance a kind of rebellion against a system that profits from players' vulnerability. In one press conference, he flipped the script. He took away the media's favorite tool, his voice, and made the silence itself the story. Now, weeks later, that moment still lingers. Cleveland remains divided. The locker room remains uneasy. The NFL remains cautious, and Shadur Sanders? He remains unbothered. Because for him, this was never about pleasing the crowd. It was about owning his narrative. For the first time in his young career, he wasn't the son of prime time. He wasn't the overconfident rookie. He was something more dangerous, a player who couldn't be controlled, and that's what terrifies the league most. Because once one player breaks free from the script, others might follow. They can fine you for words. They can suspend you for actions. But silence? Silence is ungovernable. Whether Shedeur's silence was the start of a movement or a costly mistake remains to be seen. But one thing's clear: he changed the conversation. He turned a 5-minute press conference into a cultural flashpoint that forced the NFL, the media, and the fans to look in the mirror. In a world addicted to noise, he made silence deafening. If you think Shedeur's silence was power, drop a comment below. And if you believe he's rewriting the rules of how athletes control their own story, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because in this league, the story's never over, and Shadur Sanders just turned the next chapter into must-watch history.